complain about Halo again. Not that there's anything new to complain about, I'm just making another video. So I've made a video similar to this in the past titled Halo Infinite is still awful, but I cut out a lot of things I considered too nitpicky at the time. So I thought, what other than to make a video complaining about all the small things I wish would change for my own selfish pleasure. These nitpicks are hugely subjective, but they're things I just can't help but notice. Some of these are gameplay driven, some of them are visuals, and some of them are design choices. I'm very much backseat developering right now. Oh, by the way, this is all about Halo Infinite nitpicks. I wouldn't dare complain about Precious Bungo. Let's start with... Gravity lifts aren't as dynamic and physically driven as they used to be. Lifts feel like they've become linear in how you're pushed through them. In prior titles, they felt more like a kinetic force pushing the player. I really appreciate the fact that you can adjust them to however distance you want in Infinite, but Halo had things like physical randomness that grounded everything with it being in a sandbox instead of a more static environment with everything feeling kind of scripted. I mean, for example, getting this shot was a genuine pain in the ass. And it's because the vehicle has weight, and how it interacts with the gravity lift changes its trajectory that isn't always going to be the same. Vehicles are the best example of the lifts feeling more static. I feel like the gravity lifts would change so map designers and forgers can make things more definitive with the distances that you can travel with them. But I do think they should always have an amount of physics-based force depending on how you entered said man cannon. And that brings me to vehicles. I personally am not that big of a fan of the whole auto-stabilization of vehicles mid-air feature. It removes those moments when you're hit with an explosion or a gravity hammer, or you hit a ramp and you naturally would twirl in the air and, if lucky, land with all four wheels on the ground. Now, you basically have full control at all times when in the air, and it just removes that fun physics dynamism that happened. I think a nice middle ground would be to allow control of the vehicle mid-air, but not have the auto-stabilize feature so you actually have to correct the vehicle yourself. Kind of like GTA 5, but with even less control. Everything jitters. I've complained about this in a prior video, but like, come on. Look at this. So they somewhat fixed this with the network update they released a while back, but it still happens a lot, and it's like the entire game is being ran at 30 Hz. There's always this jittery look to Spartans in vehicles, and it just makes the game look really bad. Vehicle self-destruct is a badly thought out concept, and it stops people from using vehicles to their fullest extent, instead opting to just jump out when they hear the self-destruct sound. I'm of the mindset of using things to their fullest. I'm not going to toss away a rocket launcher with one rocket left. Ooh, candy! But making vehicles have this self-destruct initiation has kind of stopped people from dying in vehicles when otherwise they'd keep on driving them. It just changes the gameplay, and I think for the worse. As well as that, the vehicle system they implemented where things start falling off when they get damaged, like vehicles or the wings of the Ghost, it's just annoying. I don't think anyone's ever had fun having the Warthog wheels pop off. Vehicles feel weird to drive. The Mongoose is the worst of them all, where it swings wildly if you turn it too fast. It has no weight. None of the vehicles even feel grounded. They all kinda just feel like they float on the surface. The wheels turn quite unrealistically and don't really adhere to what they look like they're supposed to be doing. Vehicle tracks are poorly implemented. I don't know what went wrong. Honestly seems like it's something that was just unfinished but was pushed to the retail build anyway. They just adhere to dance pad language. Vehicle damage also just doesn't make any sense with the vehicles. You can just grind against a wall and die because the game will keep ticking away a minimum damage to the vehicle no matter how minimal it looks like it's actually getting damaged. The Warthog crosshair is too small and the turret itself is too accurate. The turret has no overheat, leading to people just shooting forever, and the over-the-shoulder camera is too far away, and I think it should be angled slightly to the right, kind of like ODST. Then making the crosshair smaller alongside the turret being really accurate with no overheat is one of many other reasons I think Infinite just feels kinda like a try-hard game. They made the sniper zoom in really fast compared to prior games, and it just makes it feel way too abrupt and disorientating, as well as the zoom being at a slightly different optical times. But I'm not 100% sure about that, so don't quote me on that. In fact, don't quote me ever. Movement inertia. Everything is too sticky and there's not an obvious choreographed animation when people strafe. They did recently update this by nerfing it ever so slightly, but the changes they did made little difference during actual gameplay. Personally, it still doesn't fix the animations not really melding very well. Instead, it just makes people look like they're snapping back and forth, which doesn't look natural, and it's not fun to play against up close. At least with people that know how to really abuse that crouch spam and tap strafe. Your shields can still be broken when using an energy sword or hammer if you get meleeed at the correct time, being made completely invulnerable to everyone else. Now this has been the case in some Halos, like Halo 3, but man is it still a nitpick that should be changed. Reach had its own misery with the pre-TU update, allowing people to parry the sword with literally anything. Wow, that was a bad idea. But post-TU update, if you had full shields and someone tried getting that melee in, you'd slice right through them. No player collision in the vast majority of game modes. This just takes away a part of Halo for me. Like, without collision, it just means everyone is a ghost. Like, there's no groundedness to the game. It's like everyone is in spectator mode. It just takes away a bit of personality, and I think, who cares who's around you? You just clip right through them. Let's talk about weapons. Why am I black? Did I travel into the future? Nah, that'd be a silly idea anyway, traveling back into the future. Who would do that? Alrighty, the weapons of Infinite. So many nitpicky small things that I'd like to see changed. The Sidekick. The Magnum's annoying cousin. Pointlessly accurate and spammy, and just makes the gameplay a bit unpredictable. It beats the BR and the DMR in so many situations for something that is called the Sidekick. I would very gladly welcome back the Reach Magnum. I think the Halo 5 Magnum was supposedly nice as well. Like, the Magnum was perfect. Not too powerful, not too weak. But instead now we have the Sidekick, which most people treat as a primary. Honestly, for me it's just the rate of fire and the reload speed. Bring back the Magnum. The sniper rifle doesn't ricochet. Alright, so after 3 billion years they finally patched it in. Huzzah! The new field rod spanker doesn't ricochet. Yeah, they didn't fucking patch that in. Comparing the plasma pistol to Reach's, the plasma pistol is better in charge speed, slightly worse with ammo capacity, but the tracking is downright horrendous. It just doesn't track enemies. It seems kind of useless with the speed of combat within Infinite in its current state. They really need to increase its magnetism when tracking enemies so it can consistently hit the target, because without the consistency, it's totally useless. The skewer is just a less fun Spartan laser. And the Spartan laser is also not great. Give people anti-vehicle weaponry that has bullet travel, or have it disable or maim the vehicle. Adding these automatic, instant vehicle destroying weapons is such a buzzkill to the flow of gameplay when in vehicles. It's especially bad with unavoidable tracking weapons like the Hydra. Weapon overheat is practically redundant. It's so fast, it's not even something the player has to ever think about, as long as you don't let it overheat on its own, which rarely happens. It's basically a reload that happens within half a second. Like, you could do it mid-fight and still win. What is the point of it? Plasma grenades detonate a little too fast. For some reason they sped up the plasma grenade explosion time. It was always kind of neat when you stuck someone and you heard the plasma grenade do that slow charge up sound and detonate. Oh shit! Spike grenades suck ass. And yet are somehow worse than Halo 3's? The gravity hammer has no self-inflicted physics. You can't gravity hammer the ground and get a boost. Like, it's called the gravity hammer? What is it with this studio and just not allowing people to gravity hammer jump? They did the same in Halo 4 and I presume 5. I actually like the wind-up time. I know, I'm sorry. The Bulldog. At the very least, having both variants of the shotgun would be nice so you can change your playstyle. It feels like a halfway weapon. They should have just made it a little bit more accurate with a little bit more range and then have the OG shotgun for the contrast. But I guess now we have that other shotgun hammer. That also doesn't have physics. Pickups such as the skull, the bomb, and the flag are now 2-hit melee, which I think is sus. Like, if you get within melee range of a flag carrier or skull carrier, you absolutely deserve to be slapped in the face and instantly killed. Just one of those things that got removed and kind of muddies the gameplay a bit personally. Makes those objectives feel so much weaker and less like these semi-power weapons that you were incentivized to grab. The weapon sandbox is clearly lacking weapons that the initial Infinite design team didn't care for at the time. They've been alleviating this, but back then it was all about diversifying the sandbox and making things more unique and prominent while removing supposedly redundant weapons. But not having a solid foundation of weapons that feel comfortable to use is why I think Infinite Sandbox just doesn't feel complete. Or at least didn't. The hell was that? Anyway, let's nitpick about visuals. Don't get me wrong, the main menu looks lovely. But I don't play the main menu. I play the game. Well, I don't actually. But you know what I mean. And boy, the game can look real ugly at times. The lighting system when under shadow makes everything flat shaded. Nothing has correct lighting unless lit by the sun or spotlights. It definitely was visually held back. Asset-wise, it's fantastic. but visually the engine is just not great in real time without some sort of OTGI. Probe-based lighting, at least in Infinite's capacity, is not the best. Shield effects use a hexagon pattern, which is heresy. Hexagons are not bestagons. I'm personally on team let's not use hexagons on everything. It was kinda neat how it became a texture for Covenant assets in Reach, but then it was subsequently reverted with 343 games. Infinite lacks good physics and interactability. For instance, grass doesn't move when you walk through it. When I touch the grass, it doesn't move, 343. It doesn't move. Explosions are 2D billboards that dissipate too quickly. This just feels like a super duper 2013 Xbox One optimization they made. Halo Reach on the Xbox 360 does it better. Grenades bounce on all surfaces evenly. They don't react if it's sand or concrete or dirt. The sparks that come off of objects are reminiscent of Halo CE sparks. As in, it looks like shit. I could complain about the graphics of Infinite for infinity, but let's move on. The overall audio in Infinite is just kind of an evolution of Halo 4 and 5, where everything Covenant pew-pews, and everything UNSC sounds generic. Vehicle sounds when hitting objects are also really, really pathetic. Ranks aren't prominent enough and they're kind of just too generic looking. MCC also does a terrible job at this. Hard to tell if someone is platinum or diamond at a glance. Don't get me wrong, Halo Reach didn't do this perfectly either. You try to tell me the difference between Lieutenant Colonel and Commander. Halo 4 and 5's number system was the complete opposite direction of being utterly plain. But where has Field Marshal gone? Hero, Legend, and Mythic? Actual unique endgame ranks were very cool. Anyway, thanks for watching my nonsensical Halo Nitpicks video. I pray I don't have to make another video complaining about this maidenless game. If you'd like future videos like these, but not about Infinite, please do the usual things. What is that noise?